I died once, and only then did I realize the position of Empress is not a crown of glory, but a golden shackle locked around my neck. In my previous life, I returned to the palace with a frail body, only because I heard the emperor had brought my widowed elder sister into the palace to be his constant companion, and even made my 2 children call her. I had wept and thrown tantrums. I had questioned him, but what was the result? The emperor despised me for being jealous. My son thought I lacked decorum. My daughter wept and asked me why I insisted on returning to drive away. Later, I died of illness in a cold, lonely courtyard. Before I passed away, I didn't even receive a single word of longing. Opening my eyes again, a palace maid knelt before my bed, trembling as she spoke of the rumors circulating in the capital. This time, I smiled. If they want to be a family, let them be. I no longer want the Empress's position. I will no longer fight for the children. I am simply waiting for a great fire. From now on, there will be no Empress left in this world. Amidst the misty reign of I, who have finally come back to life. After the imperial physician treated my chronic illness, I moved to a remote palace to recuperate, because he was concerned about the upbringing of the young prince. He brought my widowed elder sister into the imperial palace and bestowed upon her the title of Wei Guo. As time passed, gossips spread throughout the world. Rumors claimed the emperor and the empress's elder sister were overly intimate. I was filled with anxiety and returned to the palace while ill to question them both. My elder sister wept incessantly and left the capital in a huff. They used the children to blame my upbringing, resenting me for being bedridden for so long, and I died filled with hatred. Reborn back into the palace, on the day the rumors were reported to me, I was no longer jealous, no longer distressed. If he can make the whole family happy, that is also quite good. I said indifferently, "Is that so?" I didn't even bother to respond. It was late spring. Fallen petals drifted past the window. Right at the moment of my sorrow, the maid saw my face turn deathly pale and kowtowed in a panic. "It is this slave who is loose. The mistress is still unwell. The physician ordered that you should not worry too much." She thought I was angry because of the gossip, speaking without restraint, uttering resentful words. After all, Pei Yu and I were husband and wife, with a deep, devoted bond. But in reality, the crown princess chosen by the Empress Dowager 10 years ago was not me. During a journey where Pei Yu met my elder sister, he fell in love with her at first sight. She wept for a none time, pale and miserable. In the end, she took my hand and whispered, "Then I will push her to you." I have never known how to handle men. She hurriedly left the capital. Pei Yu and she once had a connection, narcissistic, proud, stubborn, and refined. I nervously took the marriage decree, promised to this young noble, and incredibly kind crown prince. For the next few years, Pei Yu and I were a sweet imperial couple. The inner palace was left empty, until my elder sister sent me back to the capital. He still owed her. Therefore, he bestowed upon her the title of Wei Guo. There was no one to look after the young children, so he brought them into the palace. The grace of the emperor, known to all, was split in two. One half sent to the distant courtyard. The remaining half belonged to Wei Guo. I was anxious and returned to the capital while ill. I happened to run into my eldest son leading his younger sister to go and greet that gentle and beautiful, still composed aunt. Jinger was clever, mature for his age. Outside the door, he urged Chengel to be obedient and filial. They must respect Wei Guo. The child's status rises with the mother's. If the emperor wants heirs, it is easy. Only the flesh and blood of the woman he favors can be truly appreciated. Chengel was half understanding. But aren't we the children of the woman he loves? The little crown prince paused for a second. At birth, his young voice was dry and hoarse. He slowly told the truth. It is not the emperor's will. The person in his heart is not the empress. It is that woman he once missed out on. The one who made him sigh and regret for a moment. In the secluded courtyard, willow branches and fallen flowers. A letter fell into the mirror. My slender fingers were stained with a little mist, damp and cold in my hand. Written personally by Pei Yu. Every word was sincere. The rumors are not to be believed. You should just rest in peace. Wait for me to bring you back to the palace. I held the pen for a non-time, feeling a slight ache in my wrist, too weak to write. After entering the palace, he often sent me letters. How could I have expected back then that while he was drafting this letter, My elder sister was grinding ink by his side. In simple clothes, by the ink, with her red sleeves adding fragrance. The two children were raised by my elder sister. They went to see her every day, to listen to her play the zither, to watch him lead Chingle by the hand, wishing they were a married couple. Seeing Chingle's face resemble his, Peiyu would also be filled with melancholy. Smiling bitterly, outsiders say, "He looks more like your elder sister." My elder sister would shyly lower her head, sighing in a sorrowful tone, "What a pity. It wasn't the child I risked half my life to give birth to." Holding onto his robe, looking up and smiling at him, "Aunt is also like a mother." A peach fell from my hand, hitting the floor, making a crisp sound. I pressed my chest and coughed for a while. My throat felt as if it were stuffed with damp, dark clouds. Hoarse and unable to speak, the calm servant bowed his head, terrified. "Master, please calm your anger. The Emperor still cares for you in his heart. It is not like the rumors say regarding Wei Guo. It is nothing more than villains in the streets, trying to drive a wedge between you. The Emperor has already punished them all." I did not speak for a non-time. My anxiety grew heavier. I had no energy to write back to him. The servant looked up cautiously. "Then, would you like to leave a message for the Emperor?" I said, "No." He was shocked. Losing his composure for a moment, "You won't leave even half a word. What is there to leave?" I had once gone to question my elder sister in a fit of rage, in dark hair and a white robe, clutching her chest, weeping incessantly. "Outsiders are one thing. I am raising your children for you. Do even you suspect me? If I had any other intentions, how could you still have your position?" Everyone in the inner court understood. The Empress Dowager had always been more loyal to the shrewd elder sister. She once told Peiyu, "The Jiang girl is delicate and sickly. Let her have a spoiled temper. Her heart cannot take the slightest grievance. Such a woman can be a high-ranking lady, but not the future Empress." Back then, Peiyu's feelings for me were genuine. Taking off his hat and entering the court, kneeling to beg for the marriage, arguing with his own mother for a non-time. It was my elder sister who stepped back and saved her. That day outside the palace, the triumphant Pei passed by the lonely and sorrowful elder sister. He saw her tearful eyes fade, the relief of seeing his beloved engaged. "I'm sorry, Lady Zhang. I owe you too much." This shame lasted for several years, which led to me questioning him. That day, Peiyu heard the servant's secret message and rushed over. For the first time ever, he looked at me with a darkened face. "You shouldn't look at her like that." His cold gaze was like frozen autumn water, retaining not a shred of former affection. The Empress Dowager was so stubborn. If she hadn't stepped back, the two of us would have... I froze, with tears glistening. If my elder sister hadn't stepped back, would you have listened to the Empress Dowager? She looked away silently, because I spoke without restraint, destroying the reputation of the informer. He kept me under house arrest in the palace. I was sorrowful day after day. Jinger came to keep me company, only to blame me for being too greedy. Peiyu's feelings cannot be suppressed by fire. What the Empress Dowager said was correct. She felt discouraged by her mother is sick and fell into Aunt's trap, hardly fit to be a leader. Chengle was the youngest. Having been deceived by my elder sister, she abandoned me and vented her resentment on me for her sake. Aunt is the best. She can be with me every day. How could mother treat her like that? In the unforgettable old dreams, I was left without kin, without medicine or doctors, sweating profusely until I died. "You may withdraw." I rewarded the servants in the palace. I recuperated in the courtyard. Time passed without end. I had nothing to say to the emperor, according to what they said. I was not a good mistress. I longed to escape. For these past few days, I stopped inquiring about the rumors in the city. I calmed my mind and rested, sleeping peacefully every night. Fortunately, my body grew stronger day by day. I slowly gained control over the servants inside and out. I explored the vast courtyard, figured out where the guards were fewest, which pavilion was the most dilapidated, and most easily ignited by fire. I did not answer Peiyu, but he kept talking about Chengle, who was about to start school. I told him a little about your past. He can't quite remember what you look like anymore, but he still thinks of you. Jinger is very clever. You can handle some state affairs. It won't take much effort. He also looks forward to seeing you very much. The doctor said your illness has improved. Wait a while longer, and I will bring the children. I wish for us to stay together forever. How is it that he is always half-truthful and preventing me from noticing that he had long ago fallen in love with my elder sister? My fingers tightened secretly. The excuse of the changing seasons was no longer effective. I wrote down a few words about my current situation. Fine, let the Emperor bring them. The only thing I miss is my flesh and blood from my past life. I lived until Chungul was married. He harbored resentment towards me. He didn't want the warmth and the upbringing I gave him. Jinger sided with him. He lived extremely well. Jinger was decisive and iron-willed, with extraordinary capabilities. No one inside or outside the court questioned the crown prince. As a son, no one would crave a mother like me. Anyway, I had already arranged for help inside and out. Seeing them for one last time would be enough. King Zhao retreated. In the midsummer scenery, the emperor's carriage traveled in a grand procession, rushing to the distant courtyard, deep in the forests of Chongming, hidden in the woods. Since my rebirth, this was my first time meeting Peiyu. He was wearing simple, plain blue clothes. His face was handsome, like green pine and bamboo. Changul was held in his arms, leaning against his shoulder, stretching, weary from the long journey. Jinger followed behind him, feigning seriousness. With an expressionless face, I have already settled the two children. Maintaining my usual indifferent demeanor, I avoided Peiyu's intense gaze. My eyes remained downcast. While under the pavilion, I was suddenly embraced from behind. Fine, soft strands of hair brushed against the back of my neck. Peiyu closed his eyes slightly in the darkness. His tone was tinged with a touch of gloom. The atmosphere grew hazy and ambiguous. You do not answer my letters, nor do you ask about our children. You force me to come and find you in person. What is the meaning of this? Are you still holding a grudge against me? I slowly pulled away, but he tightened his grip on my arm, pulling me closer to his chest. His long, slender hand applied a bit of force downward. His palms were intertwined, clutching me tightly. Your Majesty, you've dropped your sachet. His expression froze for a moment, and he slowly let go. I didn't mention who had chosen the perfume for him, and I did not pursue the matter further. The moonlight in the pavilion was like water. The brief silence made things slightly awkward. Peiyu said, since you are not there, I have left it to the servants to handle. If you are not satisfied, I will change it next time. At this moment, Chengul had not chosen her seat. She was startled from her sleep and cried out. I left Peiyu behind and hurried toward the bedside. I reached out to gently hold her hand. Auntie, the little girl. She was so upset she couldn't even open her eyes wide. When her breathing finally calmed, and she saw it was me in front of her, she looked startled for a second. Mother Empress, I suppressed the grievances in my heart and comforted her. Is there something wrong with the room's furnishings? That makes you unable to settle your mind. I can have people come and move things immediately. Seeing that I hadn't yet opened my heart to her, she huddled into my arms and whispered to me about some things. Only then did I realize that my elder sister treats her very well, indulging her in every single thing. She likes that aunt so much, missing her dearly even if they haven't met for a day. Trembling with fear, she leaned toward me, Mother Empress, her eyes beginning to close with fatigue. If only Aunt could return to the capital, that would be enough. I remained silent for a long while, not answering her. In my previous life, she was the elder sister who never wished for my prosperity. The day of our partying was a day of torrential rain. Chingul saw her drenched back, lifted her skirts, and ran out of the imperial city in a fit of rage, violently throwing off my hand. Why did you have to come back? If Aunt dies, I will never walk away. Her tears fell into the depths of my heart, so crystal clear and heavy, like water pouring down in a deluge, even fiercer and colder, heavy as Mount Tai, leaving me at a total loss. But I could not blame her. I watched her sleeping face, and tucked in the corners of her blanket. I stayed at the villa for another half a month. During those days, I feigned harmony, maintaining Peiyu's dignity, but I remained distant and refused his intimacy. The third time, I turned my head to avoid his kiss. Peiyu's expression turned cold instantly. He pulled back the bead curtain and strode away. He was nursing a grudge against me alone, sleeping in separate rooms, and never came to see me again. The first to notice something unusual was Jik. The emperor is a sovereign, and a sovereign can never be wrong. He sat on a stool, the scrolls covered in dust, exposing a pair of deep, discerning eyes. Mother Empress, if you dwell on trivial matters, you will inevitably lose your status. He still understood this, as he didn't blame his father for the past, only caring about his own rights as the crown prince. Unaware of my deep sorrow, I did not marry Peiyu to be the mother of the world, but solely for that one glimpse in the past. He had held my wrist, making sincere promises with every word. I made several arrogant conditions, believing he would never fail me. A tragic, destined cycle. Hard to break. This time, I looked at Jinger and agreed to do it. For your sake, I will follow his wishes. I have always been able to do these things for him before. Jinger paused, looking up at me, without showing any joy. I carried the nourishing soup I had brewed myself, and took the initiative to see Peiyu. He was overjoyed, pressing me to the bedside and kissing me a few times. His tone was full of tenderness. Yet, his voice sounded uneasy and hesitant. You are not holding a grudge against me anymore. I have done nothing improper with her. If I had, would it have lasted until today? I bowed my head, a cold shiver running through my chest. I stiffly replied, we are husband and wife. How could I hold resentment against you? He smiled and pulled me into his arms. We lived the life of ordinary commoners, enduring for a few days, with deep, enduring affection, and children playing at our knees, until the news came from the palace. The Empress Dowager had suddenly met with a mishap. The Madame of Wei had shielded her, getting splashed with blood. Peiyu, who was reading, felt his hand tremble, unable to hold the brush, and it fell onto the floor tiles. What does the imperial physician say? Her Majesty, the Empress Dowager, is safe. He rubbed his brow. The Empress Dowager. As he unfolded the scroll, I suddenly went quiet, listening to the words he wouldn't let me hear. He walked to the door with the unit. I picked up the scroll he had dropped, patted off the dust, and as if testing the waters, he spoke to me about the ant. Note, the original text ends here, implied transition. I did not even lift my eyes at this scheme. I understand. He wants to rebel. I will not stand in his way. Jinger fell into silence. The news of the elder sister's injury spread quickly throughout the villa. It reached Shingle's ears as well. Peiyu stood leaning against the wall. He looked absent-minded. He remained silent. He was actually shouting and making a scene, insisting on returning. Yin-Yang is bleeding. I must go find her. He was terribly angry. He lost all composure. Peiyu tried to persuade him a couple of times, but he soon lost his patience. His tone became indifferent. We already agreed before we left. This trip is to accompany your Empress mother. Unless it is a catastrophe, you are absolutely not allowed to disturb her peace of mind. Changle choked back her sobs. The Empress mother is blocking my yin. I like her even less now. Peiyu looked at me. Changle was hoping for me to give in. Jinger frowned and gestured to the rain to remind them. The wind swayed the emerald bamboo. Damp mist brushed against my eyelashes. My husband. My own flesh and blood. They all leaned toward the outsider. The others stared at me, waiting for me to yield. I twisted the sleeves of my dress. I slowly lifted my eyes and scanned them all. Return, the elder sister is bleeding. It is important to comfort everyone inside and out. You must go back. Before leaving, Peiyu's expression was full of urgency. It was a great pretense. AZ, it is my fault that we returned to the capital early this time. I will make it up to you. She lowered her head in feigned remorse. If you desire anything, any rare treasure in the world, I can have it brought before you. Changle pulled on the hem of my skirt, exuding a sense of intimacy. I guessed early on that the Empress mother would never abandon Yang. Jinger stood at the end. When the two of them got into the carriage, he also unusually gripped my wrist. Thinking back to the past, when the little crown prince was born, my health was still good. I cared for him with all my heart. He used to be extremely attached to me too. If we didn't see each other for 2 hours, he would always get angry. But later on, he resented me for not knowing how to use retreat as an offense, for not knowing how to scheme, and for becoming a burden to him. Empress Mother, Jinger raised his head. I sincerely promise that in 2 months, I will beg the Empress to take us to visit you. My thoughts were drifting. I did not respond. There won't be a visit. I am about to escape. See much? Inside the carriage, someone peeked out, looking back with deep concern. The elder sister had won another game. I remembered the day we parted. She was dressed in white, staring at me with an arrogant look. Her tone was dry and raspy. To have a gentle and naive younger sister. I was overjoyed at the beginning. You were delicate and weak, and the whole family favored you. The crown prince's affection was the one thing I couldn't share, and you snatched it away. You only deserved to be a woman with a tragic fate. She was shallow in emotion and pleasure, but now I am stepping out of this path, yet I will never let you be happy. The children are innocent. My affection for Jinger and Chingle is indeed genuine, but by leaving like this, you will build resentment with them for the rest of your life. Fighting back and forth is nothing but suffering. Both Jade and Stone burn together. I do not wish to play chess with him anymore. I must find my own peace. Whatever he desires, let it be his. Gungming thought the emperor had been away for several days and was worried about the duties of the inner court. He rode his horse at full gallop, not delaying for a single moment. They arrived at the imperial city early. A corpse with a body build similar to mine lay on the soft mat. A mishap on the stage caused it to be crushed. Fire flared up, engulfing the green silk curtains and destroying the first half of my life. After I die in this secular world, there will be no more Empress. On the way back to the capital, Jinger felt a slight tightness in his chest. Perhaps it was because the sky outside was gloomy, about to rain. He rested his cheek on the back of his hand. Leaning by the window, for no reason, he asked if the Grand Masterant was really suffering. The grandmother was stunned. Unable to speak, Jinger curled his fingertips, tapping the window frame twice, slowly. I always hear people say that Empress Mother was not a virtuous empress in the past, always pestering the emperor and refusing to let go. And the emperor indulged her. She was the luckiest woman in the world, but the aunt has been making her yield so much lately. She looks very unhappy. She hasn't laughed sincerely for a long time. This time, it was clearly agreed that we were coming to visit her. Where did she go? He let out a sigh. Dropping the scroll, he rubbed his forehead, staring intently at the crown prince's comfort. He hesitated for a moment. Your Highness is not like before. Your Highness is merely calculating for the master. Jinger gave a faint. It didn't sound like he was persuaded. Chengle, though young, was restless and uneasy. Clinging to his yellow-robed leg, there were only a few dozen days left. The imperial court training. He thought to himself, just endure 3 more days. Fine, I hope to see. Is Yenyang living a miserable life? Is she in trouble? Hongmi said she is living quite miserably. Peiyu did not want to make her sad. Don't worry. The imperial physician has examined. She was restless and uneasy, rolling back and forth on the daybed. Her hair bun had become disheveled from rubbing against the pillow. This commotion caught the attention of someone. Peiyu was anxious and agitated. Just as he was about to stop her, he noticed a luminous, crystalline jade pendant hanging by her waist. Where did you get this item? Chingle sat upright, removed the silk handkerchief. Showing it to him, it was a gift from Mother. It was incredibly beautiful, and once she started talking, she couldn't stop. Mother was very gentle and kind to me. I miss her dearly. When can we invite her back to the capital? Peiyu examined the jade pendant. He was too distracted to listen to her chatter. Back when he had made the promise, by the small bridge near the Weeping Willows, he had personally hung this pendant on Zhangzi. She had always treasured and cherished it, never letting it leave her side. He had intended for it to be part of Chengle's dowry in the future. Why did she give it away now? Yao Yao was at the desk again. Ku Junjing spoke up. Wait for the Empress, she is in a hurry. However, after being on the sick, the aunt had to resign. All right, you should let go too. Jinger usually held him in very high regard, but for some reason, this time, his tone was chilling, as if needles were hidden within. Chengle buried her head in her chest. Biting her lip, she struggled intensely for a while. Without uttering a word, completely stifled. The Nanga-weighted rain finally poured down. Peiyu closed his eyes. Shutting the wooden window, a surge of fury rose in his chest. He unconsciously gripped the ribbon in his palm until it tore. By the time he reached the imperial city, the sky was already brightening. Peiyu first inquired about the condition of the Lady of Wei, Zhang Heng. The imperial physician pondered for a moment, stating that the mistress was now in excellent condition. Jiang Heng's face was pale. Her eyes flickered. At that moment, it brushed past my shoulder and slipped away. Fortunately, it wasn't a serious illness. It was my subordinates who were ignorant. Seeing so much blood, they thought the injury was very deep. I didn't expect the emperor to actually return. And about my younger sister? Peiyu scrutinized him for a non-time. He remained silent. The emperor had traveled far. The villa had deployed many personnel. and national affairs needed to be arranged properly. A journey of this magnitude was no trivial matter. He had been away for more than half a month. Who knew when he would be able to return again? Before the day turned bright, he steadied his resolve to comfort the grieving. He couldn't let them dwell on their pain. He had thought too much. Yet nothing was settled. Zhang Heng stepped forward, gripping his wrist tightly, leading him away quietly. He was broad-minded now. He didn't hold a grudge. His expression stiffened for a moment. He had changed. He seemed much more distant now. Aside from the fear, Chengel walked into the main room. In the room sat a bamboo incense box, neither heavy nor light. She spoke excitedly. Uncle, aunt, and grandmother helped me organize some utensils. It's a pity I have no use for them anymore. She opened them one by one to look. They were all toys used by young children. Incense, sachets, handkerchiefs, and bone cushions. Zhang Heng was absent-minded. Since they are things you no longer use, just discard them. In a few days, Aunt will sew new ones for you. Chingle hugged the somewhat worn-out doll and answered promptly. The concubine glanced over, startled for a moment. Keep them, her voice softened. These were things your mother saved and sewed for you with her own hands. She couldn't see you in person, but she was always thinking of you. Changle hugged the doll tighter and whispered, Mother sewed these. That evening at sunset, Chu Jun brought sugar. She clutched the items, showing them off to her brother. The servants all say Mother fled the palace shortly after giving birth to me, and that she didn't care much for me, but she made countless things for me. Do you have any? Jinger paused, still feeling resentful. I must have some as well. He quickly found out about Pei Yu. He wasn't as warm toward Jiang Heng as he used to be. A sudden sense of gratification filled his heart. After all, the words he had used to persuade the Empress were nothing more than grievances and laments. The Emperor would eventually see through the aunt's false facade. The affection between husband and wife in this world. How could it ever be harmonious again? Thinking over and over again, he toyed with the idea of palace intrigue and hid the Empress's letter. Your letter was created by your predecessor. The more urgent, the better. As soon as he mentioned Chingle, he slowly began to understand when Nayan's home. The Emperor was slowly becoming disgusted with the aunt. Everything was left at the villa. 3 days later, a reply arrived. It was like riding a horse at full gallop. Jinger had been exhausted from the journey, delivering it under the cover of night. At first, he was slightly uneasy, fearing the Empress would be angry at her coldness and blame her for fawning over the aunt with her sister. But looking at the contents of her letter now, it seemed she didn't blame her at all. She had softened her stance. He ran to the Emperor to ask for his own letter, but just as he crossed the threshold, he heard Chingle's gasping. Her throat was dry from anger. She was wailing uncontrollably. Her ears were covered in sweat. Her eyes were swollen like lanterns. She couldn't say a single word. The serving maids were trembling with fear. The jade pendant sat by the window, illuminated by the brilliant light. It looked as pale as frost, as if her soul had been stripped away. She didn't even hear his greeting. Jenga frowned secretly. Approaching with all his might, he took the paper. The note contained only 8 words. Great fire at the villa. The Empress has passed away. In an instant, his world shattered. The lamp was dim, and suddenly he could no longer see the world before him. The inner court had changed. Everyone was privately speculating about the Emperor's authority. Rumors said lightning had struck, causing a massive fire among the rubble. Others said the Empress died in the fire. Unable to survive the disaster, leaving Pei Yu behind, he realized she had left a note for him. Fearing his internal affairs, she lied, claiming her illness had worsened. The disease was agonizing. Her heart had changed. Even the children had become a burden. She couldn't withstand this calamity. A few thin pages, with profound words. She had arranged her funeral matters and clarified her final wishes. Yet she never mentioned Pei Yu once. Then, what about me, Z? Are you truly this cold-hearted toward me? You left for 10 years and wouldn't even leave me half a word. All the past events, like images in a shadow puppet show, flickered before his eyes one by one, leaving only a deep darkness at the end. He crushed the remnants of the letter. His chest ached. Breathing was difficult. He suddenly slumped forward, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Chengel was exhausted from crying, silently eating her dinner. But every time she saw the toys in the room, her emotions remained overwhelming. Did Mother also pass these broken things to me? Since mother passed away, why can't he stop talking about her? I don't want the aunt anymore. I want mother. The little girl started to throw a tantrum, speaking without any decorum, sometimes shouting that she wanted to go to the villa, other times demanding the aunt leave, inside and outside the courtyard. Only Chujun was left, trying hard to maintain control. Jinger went to see Zhang Heng. He was guarding a single eternal flame, locked within the golden pavilion, looking deathly pale. He stared blankly for a long time, before mocking himself. The wish of a mother figure has been fulfilled. Do you still want to pursue it? Beside the dim lamp, the river of time flowed on. He turned his head, his face devoid of color, as pale as paper. His eyes were bloodshot, as if he hadn't slept all night. She was my sister, with whom I shared 16 years. Our bond was stronger than yours. I yielded to her in everything to avoid trouble. She once disregarded her own safety to vent my frustrations. She was sick for 2 long months. I resented her for stealing my favor. Resented her for taking away my marriage, leaving me to suffer through everything. I never expected that, because of me, she would lose her life like this. A tear fell from his cheek. She should have walked with me forever, but I know. He began to ramble incoherently. He couldn't hold the incense stick steady. The ashes burned his skin, leaving a red mark. With disheveled hair, he looked like a madman. Jinger suddenly lost the desire to argue with him. Outside the ancient temple, the autumn rain began to fall again, suddenly remembering that final glimpse of his mother. She had stood there. The Empress looked weary and calm, gazing at them, separated from the world for the sake of others. During those few days they spent together at the end, what did he say to her? It seemed there was no one in the inner court who wasn't aggrieved. Why couldn't he bear this burden? Why couldn't he endure humiliation for the sake of his flesh and blood? Now, Chujun, under one person but above all others, no longer had a mother. Jinger walked along the Nong Street, declining the umbrella offered that day. Water flowed everywhere. He slipped on a fishtail stone, suddenly filled with regret. Regretting that day, I assumed the identity of a dying person, changed my appearance, and hid in Gusu. This place is secluded among high mountains and deep waters. The days are warm and the winds are gentle, extremely suitable for recuperation. However, it was completely useless. The physician says the lady's liver is inflamed. Her heart is not at ease. How could this be mended? Why not just let it go? I weighed it, but it was impossible to resolve immediately. It is extremely difficult to remove the thorns rooted in one's heart. I often dream of the past. Sometimes I dream of when I was 15. The first time I entered the palace with my elder sister, I was enamored by the arrogance of the PE family. Every step calculated. I bumped into a handsome and noble gentleman. He blocked my path and threw a peach blossom at me. I thought him lecherous. My face flushed and my heart beat wildly. I scolded him several times. He asked for my name. At that time, I had no idea he was the Chu Jun Peu. But I knew that after my sister entered the court, the prince had stood her up. She couldn't sleep or eat. She was lonely for many days. Some say that in the previous life, when my sister had Changel replace her, taking advantage of my arrogance, he said, Changel is very much like you when you were young. Just as spoiled, just as angry and noisy, just as clingy to me, very obedient to my words. And so his tone changed, discarding the accidentally revealed tenderness. Stop hoping he can still come close. Just like in the old days. A person of disgust. I never cared for him. He is a man of honor and loyalty. I am able to look after him properly. It is a pity that this time, my elder sister took my daughter and abandoned me. At that time, I was withered and haggard, thin as a rake, as if ruined by the heavy sable fur coat I wore. I did not want to abandon them, nor could I muster the strength to cause a scene. I parted the gauze curtain hanging between us, lowering my eyes to seek her out. What more do you desire now? My husband dotes on her. My daughter, Jinger, favors her. The flower pavilion has long known no spring. The golden temple halls grow cold in the autumn dawn. I thought to myself that I had left nothing behind. Dust, like dying stars, floated in the harsh sunlight pouring through the gaps. She saw my ghastly, wretched face and recoiled as if burned, quickly averting her gaze. As if in horror, as if in terror. You did not even acknowledge me. The past was nothing but a dream. The middle of the night, the funeral music awakened me. Holding a lantern, they cast shadows of white paper outside the room. a face appearing blurred and hazy. The hurried movements of the servant girls, they specifically collected the master's coffin to bring back to the imperial city. The sounds of mourning never ceased. The entire land was draped in white. I looked up outside the courtyard. The moon, like a silver plate, hung full in the sky. It had already been half a month since the impending meeting was cancelled. Gusu is a city of prosperity. The flowing crowd is full of complexity, and one can hear secret rumors within the classics. The emperor was struck with unbearable grief. Suspending court for 10 days, my remains were interred into the sacred earth, hoping to one day be buried alongside the emperor. Wei Guo Furhan was dressed in full mourning attire, with purple gold ornaments worn strictly in place, the emperor's great favor, and Wei Guo Furin's deep affection and loyalty. Hearing this, I felt vaguely dazed. No matter what happens, I have no desire to pay attention anymore. Lately, my eyes have begged for so much, occasionally feeling a surge of emotion in them, looking out from within my heart, foolishly gazing toward the old man, speaking and weeping bitterly. And Goose's atmosphere is light and refreshing. I am extremely happy. In short, the years seem to have eased day by day. I feared loneliness. So, in my own residence, I hired a female manager and provided refuge to several girls who had suffered harsh fates. In my spare time, I watch them read and write, prune the plants myself, and run a small business. Occasionally, I sit by the water fishing, and there is no shortage of customers. My background is unusual. I have calculated it all. I am a widow, married for many years, and my husband has died. I do not wish to dwell in a place of tears. So I moved south to Gusu. And what about the children? I curled my lips. They didn't shed any blood for me. They have all grown up in splendor. They have no need for me. And I, too, should have let go. A guest once chatted with me for a while, and after hesitating for a long time, whispered, asking if I had children. Perhaps having no children is a blessing. I thought, you are very carefree right now. No need to provide for anyone. You can do whatever you want. I laughed for a while. The world had treated me like that, but I slowly adapted. Su, Yu, Gusu, bridges and flowing water. The years are peaceful. Until one day, the manager, Madam Chin, said to me, Master, there are several distinguished guests inquiring from elsewhere. They spoke in the elegant dialect of the Central Plains, and they all kept asking about you. But as soon as you left the mansion, they all went into hiding. An old acquaintance, as indicated by that Central Plains accent, truly made my skin crawl. My past faked death was full of countless loose ends. I am staying in a separate villa. I cannot keep deceiving the world forever. But the emperor attends court, and I know the elder sister is trying to trap me. She has always been and would surely block any attempt to uncover the truth. Peiyu has long been disgusted by me. Jinger reads the wind to gauge the situation, and will surely side with the elder sister. Changel never had any affection for me, so she probably doesn't miss me either. I am filled with anxiety, unable to articulate what I am worried about. Yet, I have been unable to eat or sleep for 4 days. While inspecting the firm again, I suddenly ran into rumors. This group of investigators, I secretly tried to avoid them. The shopkeeper was slightly terrified. They want to find out about our patron. He casually revealed something everyone in the world already knew. He lost his wife, he said. In a corner where the sheep had not yet grazed, a man in a green casual robe wore a dry mask used for hunting rabbits. Utterly disheartened. Is this what he told you all? The young man did not answer. He moved to the front, standing on his tiptoes like a child, his eyes clear, begging him to continue talking. And his children. The shopkeeper felt it was an unreasonable demand. That is exactly what he said. That he has never had any children. The young man was speechless for a moment. Stumbling back 2 steps in a panic, he gripped the man's shoulder, seeming to be in a very poor state of mind, his voice choked with bitterness. Enough, I should have taught you long ago. The old shopkeeper no longer had any goods to show. So, are you going to buy this cloak or not? Before I could step inside the door, I wiped the sweat from my palms with a silk handkerchief and slipped away quietly, even though they stood in the shadows and were wearing bamboo hats. Those 2 silhouettes. I will never forget them, even in death. Peiyu and Jinger, the emperor, dressed as commoners, did not move a muscle. I felt uneasy. I instructed the entire household that if they encountered that strange father and son again, They must treat them with respect. And absolutely do not cause any trouble. Whatever high authority they might be, upon hearing my instructions, the shopkeeper was still slightly startled. I found them annoying, and almost spoke disrespectfully to them. Those gods I would rather avoid. I whispered to him to just stay away. I found myself with nowhere left to retreat. There was only half a month left. It was in the dead of night. When they finally gathered in the courtyard, he had been drinking, and Jinger couldn't hold him back. He led his attendants behind him, and incidentally drove away the servants who were unaware of the situation. I didn't know what was happening yet. When the man grabbed me from behind, pulling me to his chest, his body was scented with aged wine, and he had become much thinner. His skeletal frame hurt me vaguely. The night was deep. I thought they were bandits, struggling and pulling the gold hairpin from my hair. As we moved, our arms entwined, suggesting he was circling before me. The candlelight from the lantern outside the courtyard was dim, reflecting a pale, familiar face. "White moon, I was wrong," he said. He cut me off. The words that followed were like bones being separated. "Our children are all that I think of. How could you be so heartless?" I tried to run away. I was terrified. Jinger was panting heavily behind him, following close behind. He rushed to my side, unable to speak a single word. His eyes turned red. His voice sobbed. "Mother," I froze for a moment. I pushed Peiyu away, leaning against the wooden pillar, my body weak and aching, nearly collapsing to the ground. Jinger came closer to pull me. "I just do not want to see you all again." I clenched my fists. I am not fit to be the mistress, nor fit to be the Empress or the mother of royalty. Mother is narrow-minded and jealous. I couldn't protect myself when my sister cast me aside. I couldn't protect myself when my husband broke his promises. You couldn't protect the young children. I was cold and indifferent. Peiyu was nailed to the spot, struggling to speak. A tear fell to the ground. He argued frantically. "I never broke my word. I never let..." He said he was often terrified and begged me to return to the imperial city. "I beg you to take me back to the palace." Jinger's face turned deathly pale, his lips trembling. "Mother, please, let's just go. I'm just afraid you might be able to handle it properly. I will never force you again. You have compromised for so long. As long as you are happy, that is enough. Whatever you decide, it will be done." I suppressed my sorrow, slowly prying his hand off me. Living outside the palace is what is truly happy. Jinger bit his lip until it bled. "Father and mother, just leave." His eyes begged, "Nothing will ever stop you again." Only then did I understand. Peiyu and the elder sister had fallen out. Han, you went to find him to settle accounts. But he was also acting as if Peiyu had forced the king. The two of them had a private argument, smashing a whole courtyard of things, turning against each other completely. Later, the elder sister who guarded the tomb knelt before him to find me. "He is King Wei, he is Wei Gan, and he had just escaped. He was just disappointed in me. You must find him quickly." When Peiyu mentioned the elder sister, he was still slightly angry and unable to let go. "The book was sent to me," he said. "He forced me to send him his book. Otherwise, he would kneel before the tomb and not leave. I couldn't be bothered to take care of him. To my eyes, he is your own elder sister. It is as if he remembers his previous life." I was restless. I took the book, but did not continue on the path of an immortal. No matter what, I will never seek wealth again. That volume of the book had nothing worth reading. Ultimately, he had misunderstood my intentions, blaming himself for having secretly harmed me in the past, pushing me into such a tragic situation, wishing for me to encounter him again. I didn't want to, so I set the book on fire instead. The flames curled around the embers, severing the last of our connection. I took root in Jiangnan with Jing. After the birth, he stood by the house, allowing the rain to soak his thin robes. Afterward, he fell ill for several days, growing more sorrowful by the day. The shopkeeper was extremely astonished, occasionally passing by to warn me, "My lady, there is a man. That god you don't want to provoke is still out there in the rain." "We don't need to pay him any mind," I said gloomily. "Just let him stay." Jinger came to hand me some toys, helping me carry the heavy wooden basin. So tired that his forehead was covered in sweat, the shopkeeper commented, "That little boy at the counter seems like a well-fated and easy-to-approach child." I slowly curled my lips. That is definitely not him. In the future, he will be the new emperor who shakes the four seas. Even now, No one in the courtyard thinks the little king is a merciful person. The shopkeeper was shut down by me twice. In a moment, he lost the desire to talk nonsense about them. Looking up at the clouds. The water is flowing so fast. In these turbulent waters, Peiyu and Jinger still come to see me every day. His Majesty prefers to write to me, just as he did when I was young and did not know he was the crown prince. He kept stuffing them into my hands one after another. Yet now, I don't even bother to open them. I told him to stop sending them. Day after day, these letters pile up, filled with his desperate words. You haven't even finished sketching, yet you've started painting. I was brewing tea in the pavilion, accepting a cup from Jinger after he finished his task. But I didn't say a word. Peiyu could barely hold himself together, refusing to complain to me in front of others. But their initial encounter was purely a twist of fate, a story that began with a chance meeting. I was merely bewitched by my elder sister's influence. She lowered her gaze, her eyes glistening, as if covered by a layer of dew. I made you suffer? You blame me for not wanting to repent, and so be it. But Changle is still young, completely oblivious. Must you treat her this way too? She misses you so much, she stayed up all night, exhausted. But I have promised her before that I would definitely bring you back to the palace. I looked at her as I always did. There is nothing left to say. I kept my eyes fixed on the ground, never forgetting her. I have never blamed our flesh and blood. Do not use the children to force me. Only when memories surfaced, deep within my chest, did I feel a flicker of melancholy. He hovered hesitantly. I told Jinger to bring you here. You didn't need to come yourself. Peiyu's face was stiff, devoid of any vitality. He nearly stumbled as he stood up. His palms pressed hard against the wooden table, veins bulging, his voice strained, struggling to control his breath. Is this how you resent me? He had stayed here for 30 days, but with the affairs of state in the capital, he could not remain for Yet he still returned to the imperial capital. Seeing me remain indifferent to his I refused to offer forgiveness. He handed his personal belongings to Chen and prepared to become a nun, entering the gates of the temple, vowing to live a life of penance. As Jinger grew older, using the pretext of official business he often brought Chungle to visit me. The little girl thought I had gone mad, and once she did, she would bury her face in my chest, proclaiming with intense emotion, he was wrong, too, and I was wrong, too. I let out a non-sigh, sweeping back my sleeves, wiping the tears from the corners of his eyes. You are still young. You don't understand the etiquette. Seeing you so determined, I won't be angry with you. After all, you are my own flesh and blood. Yet, I can no longer bring myself to raise him. How could I still bear to hate him? In this life, Peiyu died early. I had forgotten. Jinger ascended the throne. Changle held my arm, whispering softly, begging me to stay in the imperial city for a few more days. Jinger asked me if I wanted to be the Empress Dowager. I declined. I have no attachments left here. Will you at least see me off to the city gates? The young emperor lowered his head, a portrait of utter dejection. I climbed into the carriage, bound for June. Before leaving the palace gates, it seemed someone was blocking the path. My maid ordered the guest to move aside in a sharp tone. This is a guest personally sent by His Majesty. The sight of blood caught my eye outside the carriage window. The scene was desolate and miserable. I am his elder sister, and he has treated me with such cruelty. The maid hesitated, leaning in to ask for instructions. I gripped the carriage curtain tightly. It was a guest who looked like a saint, a nun. Her face was exquisite, though worn by time. Passersby said she was a woman of ill fortune. I thought back on the countless years of the past, regretting my lack of affection, as the ties of emotion remained unresolved. He had once trimmed my eyebrows for me. He recited poetry by my ear, passionate and sincere. During that freezing winter when we lacked money, he said, "Give the charcoal to the second sister. Do not send it to me." I lifted the carriage screen. Our eyes met. His dark eyes brightened, as if he were about to run toward me. But after one glance, I let the curtain fall. Enough, let us go. The carriage rolled away, leaving the capital behind, returning to Gusu, where the spring waters were just beginning to thaw. If you reach Juongnan in the spring, by all means, linger with the spring.